I'm Michael Walsh. I'm a recovery coach, interventionist, and family consultant based in Victoria, BC, and I'm one of the partners at HBR. I am also a person that has lived substance-free for many years. I'm very passionate about my work and will likely do this work for the rest of my life. I am thrilled you've chosen to participate in home-based recovery, and I do hope your experience is enriching and life-changing. Today, I'm going to be talking about the language of recovery. This is a very important topic for me. I choose to use language that is neutral because it is disarming when working with clients, but also because it feels right for how I want to present my personal recovery history, whether in my personal or professional life. The way we talk about things in our field of work has a huge impact on our perception of ourselves and the world around us. Within the recovery world, there are often conversations on what kind of language is appropriate and effective to use. And what I hope to accomplish in this video is to A, destigmatize recovery terminology, B, keep an open mind on language that can be used, and C, help you figure out what vocabulary works best for you. Language in recovery can take on multiple forms. The first big word or term people often hear relates to how those in recovery refer to themselves. More often than not, that word you will likely hear is addict or alcoholic. For some people, calling themselves an addict or alcoholic works. For others, not so much. A common alternative to this is saying that you have a substance use disorder or alcohol use disorder or substance use issue or whatever is going to align best with how you want to communicate this if and when it is needed. Something to be mindful of is that just because one term doesn't work for you doesn't mean it should be discarded for everyone. Is there a term that you associate with more than another? Is there one term you particularly don't like, and if so, can you identify why you don't like it? The way you identify with your personal journey of recovery is yours to decide, and if you ever meet people who use different terms than you, try asking them why they prefer those terms. There is something to be learned from everyone, and people who struggle with the same thing as you can share their wisdom with you. What you do with that information is entirely up to you. Other terms that are used during treatment and recovery include slip, relapse, abstinence, sobriety, and recovery itself. Let's start by looking at the word relapse. Relapse can be a useful term to adopt as it takes lapses seriously. Referring to it as a slip-up can often minimize the event, making it much easier to brush off as a little mistake. Once you're in the recovery process, it's time for you to dig deep into why you are using a particular substance. While relapsing can be a normal part of the recovery process, it serves as an indication that more work is needed. Minimizing such events only makes it longer for someone to admit that there is still a problem that either needs addressing or requires more work. The first part of recovery is admitting something is wrong, and language should be used to facilitate honesty instead of minimizing the reality of the situation or guard denial. Here's an example. Let's take two different people experiencing the same relapse. Both parties have been in recovery for 3 months, and during an outing with old drinking friends, alcohol gets involved, and this leads to a full-blown drunken weekend. When each person shares the experience, they explain it as follows. Person A: I met up with some old friends. It was really just to catch up. They knew I was in recovery, so I knew they weren't going to pressure me to drink or anything. The evening was going fine. I told myself, just one drink for old time's sake wouldn't hurt. I'd been doing really well, so I knew it wouldn't be a problem. It definitely turned into a bigger party than I expected, but it's just a small slip. Now it's out of my system, I promise. I'll just go back to how I was doing before. I was already able to remain abstinent for 3 months before. It's not that big of an issue. Person B. I met up with some of my old drinking friends. I missed them. They knew I was in recovery, but that didn't stop them from drinking in front of me. I definitely was overconfident in my ability to say no. It was too soon in my recovery process to deal with all of that. I fell back into my old habits pretty quickly. Everything unraveled so fast, I relapsed hard. Even though I was completely abstinent for 3 months prior, I realized I still have a lot of open doors that are putting me at risk to drink again. Do you see the difference between the two recountings? The language we use truly is crucial, if not only it informs others on what happened, but more importantly, it indicates how you interpret and justify events. Person A uses very minimizing language, things like just one drink, knew it wouldn't be a problem, just a small slip, it's not that big of an issue. Person B, on the other hand, is exhibiting vulnerability in his speech. I missed them. I was overconfident. I relapsed hard. And I still have a lot of open doors. Language also isn't just about what you say, but what you leave out too. Just look at how person A and person B refer to their old friends. Old friends versus old drinking friends. Person B acknowledges the type of friends he went to see, bringing him a step closer in being able to come to terms with having to change his environment and potentially his friends. Everyone has minimized things before, whether it be within a recovery context or not. It's how we are able to protect our ego, reduce accountability, and minimize the amount of energy we need to spend on fixing a situation. But ultimately, by doing this, we are trading in short-term discomfort for long-term dysfunction. How do you think you've minimized your experience with your substance use? What language did you use to guard yourself? Terms like abstinence and sobriety can also be new territory for some. Being sober isn't just a state of being. Specifically within a recovery context, being sober insinuates that you had a substance use problem to begin with. It can sometimes feel like trading in one label for another. For example, addict for sober. But how you interpret its meaning changes its impact. To be able to say, I'm sober now, means that you've come to terms with the fact that once upon a time, you weren't sober, and now you're able to abstain. Terms like this are used consistently by both people who work in addiction and suffer from it. It is meant to reflect the reality of addiction and recovery. Speaking of recovery, that is a term you'll often hear. You've already heard it a lot in this video alone. Recovery indicates that a healing has taken place. Addiction is often talked about as being an illness, and like every other illness, you must heal in order to make a full recovery. You seeking help is like you going to the doctor for a broken bone. You acknowledge the fact that something isn't working right, so you go and repair it. Here we are again, coming back to the importance of acknowledging and coming to terms with your situation. It's a bit like seeing someone walk on a broken leg. You can't run right until you fix what needs fixing. What does sobriety, abstinence, and recovery mean to you? Are they terms you embrace? What language do you feel comfortable with? Language in recovery isn't solely focused on your current state, but also your future and mindset. The way you talk about recovery will impact your mindset, whether it be for the better or the worst. Hearing people say things like recovery is possible, survivor, or person in recovery can help improve recovery outcomes. While being honest about your situation can be difficult and even a negative experience due to the negative emotions related to addiction, using language that sees a silver lining and envisions a future helps maintain a positive outlook. It reminds you that all the hard work is going to pay off. Do you find you have a hard time using positive language? What stands in the way of you using positive language? Throughout this video, we've explored the nuances of language as well as a few key terms and what they can mean to people. You're going to hear the presenters in HBR use a lot of the terms found in this video. My best advice to you is to try your best to stay open, both with the HBR videos and other people and resources that are part of your therapeutic process. Learn what you can from those around you and figure out what language is best suited for you. In the end, try to remember that language shouldn't be a barrier to your recovery. If you prefer using some terminology over others, it's more than fine for you to request that such language be used when working with you. As long as you're able to remain honest and relatively comfortable in your recovery process, you're heading toward the right path. Maybe you've even found out some of your preferred terminology already from this video. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in a future video.